Hey everyone, Astro Yoga Woman, Debbie Barnett, RYT 500 here on my back porch in Tucson. It's raining, which I love. We've needed it so bad. It rained for like 24 hours yesterday, now it's raining again. So I wanted to expand a little bit further. I just filmed my welcome video just a minute ago. So if you haven't seen that, go back and look at that. It tells you a little bit about what this channel is about. And then this video is about me, Debbie Barnett, Astro Yoga Woman. So I want to tell you a little bit about my three loves by way of telling you about me, or tell you about me by way of my three loves, as it would be. So astrology, yoga, human design, and then sort of a metaphysical overview of that. I first came to astrology when I was a child. I was probably 7 or 8. I don't really remember exactly because I was little. And I grew up in Wisconsin. My mom was an Aquarius, and she had these kitchen matches. Aquarius rules astrology, by the way. So she had these kitchen matches, and I remember being old enough to read and seeing these 12 different signs with the birth dates and the symbols of the zodiac, of the horoscopes. And so I memorized my family members' signs based on their birthdays at like 7 or 8. And so that's my first astrology memory. So I've been teaching myself astrology since I was little. And I'm a Leo. So what does that mean? I don't know. I'm wearing red. Leo is fire. It's fixed fire. It's ruled by the sun. So the sun is the ruler of our solar system. So Leos like to think that we rule. Shout out for my homeboys and girls, Leos. So I view myself as an astrologer as one who shows you the way to your own personal kingdoms and queendoms. And I'm doing that by showing you my life. This is how I run my queendom. And if you want to be a loyal subject of my queendom, you're more than welcome to. Or even just a visitor, that's fine too. And so I'm a Leo. That means I like to have fun. If it's not fun, I'm not interested. And Leo is playful, it's colorful, it's bright, it's creative, it's self-expressed. So this channel is me giving me a chance to self-express and show you a little bit of my personality, which is quirky. I get to be creative. I get to have some organization, hopefully, and putting these out on a regular basis so that I can help people be their best and their most self-expressed and their highest expression of themselves. And so that's Leo's sun. And then next I have Gemini moon. And so your sun is your individuality. It's sort of your outward expression of who you are. And then the moon is more of an internal expression. It's your needs, it's your emotions, it's your feminine side. And so moon in Gemini would say that that's an air sign. And it's all about intellect and processing, taking in and processing lots of information, and then because it's mutable, it disseminates. So the fixed signs like see things through, so Leo is fixed. I can be like tenacious about things, and then Gemini would disseminate that wisdom. And so this channel is a way for me to use technology, which is an air type thing, it's an Aquarius type thing, use technology to disseminate wisdom and information that I've picked up in all of my Gemini studies. And Gemini is also very witty, so hopefully I'll be able to share some of my wisdom. Those of you who are my yoga students will know that I can be humorous at times. Okay? And then the third thing astrologically you should know about me is I have Cancer rising. So Cancer is the sort of the mother of the zodiac. It's ruled by the moon, so that means the moon in Gemini would be my chart ruler. It's sort of the overseer of my chart. And so I was putting my little stage set together here, my little back porch. I just cleaned it up. I sit here all the time. But I thought, well, how very Cancer of me. I've got on like a cable knit sweater and scarves, and I'm covered in like layers of blankets because it's chilly, and it's like cozy, and it's my home. And so Cancer is very private, and it rules the home and the family and sort of your nest and your tribe. But it's cardinals, so it's an initiate. Cardinal signs initiate the season. So cardinal sign, as a Cancer rising, I take action around like self-care, around nurturing myself and others, like food and diet and home life, like how to have a happy, balanced, secure, safe home, energetically, physically, emotionally, like that. And it's also very, like I am a healer and I love to nurture people. And so I do that by sharing my wisdom and my understanding of a lot of different systems. And I'll get to that in a minute about the systems. So that's me astrologically. And then from a yoga perspective, I started practicing yoga in technically I started practicing in 1979. That's when I discovered the word yoga. Come to find out, I'd been doing that also since childhood, because when I found this book when I was 16 with these poses, this guy, an Indian guy in like a loincloth, doing these yoga poses that I had done my whole life. I'd always stood on my head and done the splits, and I used to sit and watch Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5, and I'd be like in a straddle sit, like on my elbows. And that was all. It still feels good to me. It felt good then, and it still feels good. That's how I still sit. So I'd always done these things, and I found this book, and I thought, oh my gosh, there's a word for this, and it's yoga. And I'd been doing it all along. And I was a high school gymnast at the time, and I went to my gymnastics teacher. I then moved to Fort Worth, Texas, just shortly before that, as a junior in high school, and went to my gymnastics teacher, and I said, hey, I'm doing this thing called yoga. Have you ever heard of that? And she said, oh yeah, that's great. Keep that up. So I did. And I was cross-training before there was a term cross-training. And so I did yoga on my own for about 20 years. And then after a corporate layoff, I started my own business in early 2001. I had been an executive assistant in corporate America for off and on 18 years. And was tired of being laid off. And I said, I'm going to go be a professional speaker, a motivational speaker. So I joined Toastmasters and overcame my Cancer rising shyness and learned that I have this gift for speaking and sharing wisdom and whatnot. And so I started my business, and at that time I started going to yoga classes at the Gold's Gym where I was working out. I was lifting weights at that time. And I saw this power yoga classes twice a week on the schedule, and I thought, power yoga? Isn't that an oxymoron? What the heck is that? What is power yoga? But I went to class, and the teacher, Jeannie, I remember going up and introducing myself afterward, and she said to me, how long have you been teaching yoga? And I said, oh, I don't teach, I practice at home by myself for like 20 years, but I've been practicing on my own. And she said, well, you look like a teacher. And I said, oh, okay, well, that was nice that she saw that in me, even back then. But what was cool was that it totally kicked my butt. This was a style of yoga that I had not been familiar with. I'd never seen it before. It's called Vinyasa Flow, based on Ashtanga yoga. And it's very like energizing and stimulating, strength building, balance, flexibility, all of it. It was originally designed for teenage boys in India, in the ashrams. There was usually an orphanage, or still is, an orphanage associated with it. And so they needed a way for these boys to burn up all their adrenaline and all their energy, and so they created these series of different poses that are, some can be like contortionist type poses, but some even just like plank, down dog, up dog. They're very strength building too, and you're doing back bends which awaken the system, and then forward bends which calm. So I did this power yoga, and I was like, that first couple classes, probably first couple months, I was in child's pose most of the class. And I've been doing yoga a long time by then. So when I tell people, hey, if you need to take a break, it's okay. I mean, that's what yoga is. It's not about keeping up and having your ego stoked because you can do these crazy poses. If that happens, great. But, if your body says rest, rest. So anyway, I started practicing yoga a long time ago. And then when I started my business, I started incorporating this yoga philosophy into my speaking. And I remember my colleagues at the Dallas chapter of the National Speakers Association say that I shouldn't have yoga in my programs, that it, like, corporate America wouldn't accept it. And I said, but that's my USP, or my unique selling proposition. That's what makes me different from everybody else who's doing communication skills training or whatever I was doing at that time. Because I come from this yoga perspective. So whatever I do, whether it's astrology or coaching or teaching people how to speak in public, it comes from the perspective of yoga philosophy and how to live life. And so yoga for me is not only hatha yoga, which are the physical poses of yoga, what most people think of when you see like a yoga mat and people are including their breath and their movement and whatnot. You'll find that on my channel too. But when I'm talking about yoga these days, it's more yoga philosophy. This is how you map out your life. This is sort of like a guidebook for your life of how to have a life that works, right? How to have a life that creates more joy, more peace, more ease, more grace in your everyday existence. And you can tell by when your relationships improve. That's how you know when your yoga is working, is when your relationships improve. And so there's a lot of different types of yoga. Hatha yoga, of course, with the asanas, the poses, and the breathing, the drishti, and the focal point. And then there's Raja Yoga, which in the Yoga Sutras, that's the ancient yoga philosophy, Raja means king. So this is the yoga of kings. And it's from that we get yoga as a lifestyle, like with the disciplines and practices and sort of like moving up the chakras and you reach samadhi, or you reach enlightenment, or sort of like a blissful state. And we can be in that however much we want. That's Raja Yoga. And then Jnana Yoga is the yoga of the intellect, and that's studying ancient texts and sacred texts and then applying it to your life, and then practicing what's known as svadhyaya, or self-reflection, like how does this apply to me and how am I showing up in the world? And am I in alignment with my values and principles? Okay, that's Jnana Yoga, J-A-N-A, Jnana. Jnana. And then Bhakti Yoga is deep, deep love of mine, and that's the yoga of the heart. That's yoga of devotion and singing and chanting, whether it's mantras or different names of the divine, and just being in a joyful, blissful state. That it's Shabda Yoga, it's the yoga of sound, which we're all vibratory frequencies, and so it's a way to raise our vibration and put us in a divine flow and raise our frequency. And so if you're vibing at a higher level, that's what you're going to attract to you. So Bhakti Yoga is the yoga of love. It's being of service, seeing the divine in everybody. And I'm also an animist. I believe that everything has life force, everything has value and needs respect. And so Bhakti Yoga is one of my dear, dear loves. So I'll share different avenues of that. And then there's also Karma Yoga. That's the yoga of action. So think of like Mother Teresa, who was very much a Karma Yoga yogi. She was very much about giving of herself with no expectation of return. And so it's doing the work because the work needs to be done. And it's not because you're going to get paid or you're going to get something from it or you're going to get a reward or something. Yes, good karma is created, you know. But the reason why you're doing the good work isn't because what you're going to get. It's because you have the opportunity to give, and so you give. And you get to be generous, and because it's a cycle, you know, it goes around, comes around. So Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Raja Yoga, Hatha Yoga, Yoga Philosophy, Yoga Lifestyle. Finally, Human Design System. So a lot of people either know a little bit about it, or they don't know very much about it, or they've never heard of it. And some people know a lot more than I do, which is great. I discovered, or I should say Human Design discovered me in 2006. I was living in Orange County, California at the time. I was at the Orange County Goddess Temple. Praise be, blessed be. and they were having like a metaphysical fair, psychic fair type thing. And I stumbled upon a lady who had never been to one of those things before. And so, being one who likes to help, I said, here, let me guide you through this metaphysical fair. And I introduced her around and, said, here's readings, here's crystals, here's all sorts of different fun things. And then afterwards she said, have you heard of human design? Because she knew that I did astrology. And I said, no, I've not heard of that. And she said, well, let me do your chart. And somehow she went out to her car and did my chart and came back and said, oh, you're a projector. I go, okay. And I don't know what that means. I'm from Texas too. I don't know what that means. She said that I am here to guide people, which, I guided her around this metaphysical show, this holistic show, so it was kind of funny. That I'm a projector and that I have to wait to be invited before I share my energy, because my aura is penetrating and it goes right into people's core of their being. And just because I can see it doesn't mean I should say it. It's like if I'm the coach of the red team, I can't be giving advice to the blue team because the blue team's not going to be open to what I have to say. So I should just stick to the red team, whichever team I'm on. Okay, and those invitations have to be correct for me. I'm an emotional solar plexus authority, so I'm to ride my wave and feel out invitations, like to see if it's right for me. These are for big things like career, love, place to live, jobs, things like that. And so human design, let me back up a little bit. Human design, the science of differentiation. So this is how we are uniquely created to exist on the material plane. So their concept is that the body is the vehicle, the soul is the passenger, the mind is the computer that just sort of gets in the way, and that your design, your human design, is your unique blueprint of how your vehicle, how your 3D realm Land Rover is supposed to traverse the landscape, because it knows, right? We think we know, we don't. Right? A lot of times when people come to an astrologer, it's because they're confused, or they want confirmation or direction, or where's this, where's that. Human design tells you that too. It tells you how to make your own decisions, like from a bodily awareness, because it's a combination of astrology, Kabbalah, the I Ching, chakras, and quantum physics. So it works through a neutrino stream. For those of you who are unfamiliar with neutrinos, they're emitted from the sun through these like cosmic blasts of like solar eruptions, solar flares. And these little packets, tiny packets of energy pass through us as if we're like a screen or mesh, and they sort of upgrade us, right? We get these little ascension upgrades. And so I want to say it was like 1786, something like that, right around the time when they discovered Uranus as the first planet beyond Saturn. Used to be Saturn was the limit, and so they went beyond that and they discovered Uranus. That's about when we were upgraded, so to speak, into these 9-centered beings. So instead of 7 chakras, we're now said to have 9 chakras. And so depending on the time and place, location of your birth, a chart is created, much like an astrological chart, but this is a human design mandala, and then your chart. And so whatever centers have definition, that's where you have more like a fixed quality, and you have stability, a stable way of being in the world. And where you have openness or undefined centers is where you're open to conditioning. And that's how most of us get into trouble in life, is that we're all about, doing what conditioning says instead of what our body, what our vehicle says. Okay, so it's a process of deconditioning. It's a process of listening to yourself and using yourself as an authority rather than the environment. So human design projector, I'm here to guide those with whom I resonate and resonate with me. And I usually include human design in my astrology readings, even just a few minutes towards the end, because number one, most people that I run across aren't familiar with it. And as a projector, it's sort of my job to get you familiar with it. And two, if they are familiar with it, they're most likely not living their strategy and authority, which are their cornerstone, fundamentals of human design, know your type, which there are 5, 4 real ones, 1 hybrid, type, strategy, and authority. If you know nothing else, that's all you need to know. So I give people that little intro into that. So that's me, Debbie Barnett. RYT 500, that means I'm a registered yoga teacher at the 500-hour level. But I've been teaching since 2001 when I started my business, my speaking business, and have taught off and on throughout them. I took a break for a year in teaching Hatha Yoga when I moved from California to Tucson in December of 2016, and I've just started teaching Hatha Yoga again, which I love, and it's to a bunch of teachers, which I love, elementary school teachers, in a library, which Gemini is about books. So I love being in the library, I love teaching teachers, and I love that they then will go and teach their kids, and they already are. They're already sharing with me how they're incorporating yoga in their classroom. So I don't have to put up with the little ones. God love them, and I do love them, but I don't really have that kind of patience. so I'm teaching those that can teach them. It's getting chilly out here. It's raining. Let's see. Oh, so when I moved here, I'd had a shoulder injury from playing in the ocean. Mother Ocean gave me a whoop-ass beating on my last body surfing ride. And I got my arm all twisted, and I don't know if I tore probably just some fascia or tendons or whatever, some muscle strain. But it took a while for that to heal, and that finally did. So now I'm teaching again, which is awesome, and twice a week. And I've been teaching Tantra philosophy, which is sees yoga as a dualistic way of life, that we're both masculine and feminine, we're yin and yang, all at the same time. And there's part of us that's pure consciousness, that in quantum physics says that we were never born, we never die, we're just energy changing form. And then there's a part of us that's always changing, that's our physical vehicle. Like as soon as our body is born, it's already, and even in utero, our cells are already dying. They're living, dying, living, dying, living, dying. And so there's a part of us that's always changing, and that's the feminine aspect. So we have the Shiva Shakti, we have Purusha, Prakriti, Yang, Yin, masculine, feminine. And so when you come into human form, when your soul decides, okay, I want to have this experience on Earth, of life on Earth, so let me choose this body and this DNA and these different charts, and have all these like ties to other beings, that we come and have these experiences together so that we can grow. And so you come into your body, and I forgot where I was going with that. Oh well. You come into your body, you have this human experience, and you get to reflect and say, you know, what's it about? How am I doing? Where am I going? Am I having fun? As I mentioned, as a Leo, if I'm not having fun, I don't want to do it. I always talk about yoga and human design. So yoga's, one of the definitions of yoga from the Yoga Sutras is, I'll sing it, because the sutras were sung. Kind of like the ABCs, helps you remember if you sing it. It goes, Yogaha Chitta Vritti Nirodhaha. That means yoga is directing and sustaining thought. Now some interpret that as the cessation of thought or stilling the mind. I don't know that stilling is the right word for me. Personally, I like the word quieting the mind or directing the mind, because to get it to be still is really difficult for me. And I've been doing yoga a long time. I've been meditating a long time. So it's more like directing your thoughts to where you want them to go, and then noticing what they do. So just point the arrow, and then you pull the bow and you let it go, and just try to do your best to keep it steady. And so that applies to everything in your life, and that you can decide on a direction. Like say you do a vision board and you put your pictures on your board, you hang it on the wall, and you do your affirmations and your mantras, and you're drawing to you into your subconscious that which you want to experience. And that's yoga, because you're directing your thought. And you can apply that to anything in your life. You can apply it to your business, to your relationships, to your family, to your home life, community service, spirituality, everything. So I am actually on my back porch, as you can see. Somebody, I gotta show you this. One of my clients gave me this rocker. I don't know if you can see. It's kind of big. I'm all covered up in blankets, so you can't really see how big it is, but I was at their house doing a couple's astrology reading for her and her husband. And as I was leaving, she goes, "Oh, you're moving to a new house. You need some furniture?" And I go, "Yeah, I'll take some furniture. Never pass up a good deal. Free." And she goes, "Okay. Take this wooden rocker. That was my father-in-law's, and he doesn't need it anymore. Why don't you take it?" And it's like, wide. And I have a 2-door Honda Accord. I'm like, okay. And so both of us are like trying to wrestle this thing into my car. And I go, I'm a Leo. And Leo means the keywords are I will. And I go, I will get this. Like, where there's a will, there's a way. This rocker's coming home with me. I want this wooden family heirloom Cancer feel, ancestry, tradition, rocker. And so what I do is I pull my seat forward, front passenger seat forward, and then lay it all the way back. And I had to pull my seat like all the way up and put the seat forward, like right up against the steering wheel, and then wedge this rocker into my car. And then barely scoot the seat back so I could get in front of the steering wheel. And thankfully it wasn't that far from my house, but still, it's far up. And so my seat was like smushed all the way, smashed up against the steering wheel, and I'm driving like this. And then the rockers, like the legs were right here, like in my face. And like I'm trying to do the thing. I'm like, please God, please Goddess, do not let a police officer stop me. For whatever reason right now, like broken taillight missing, whatever, I don't know. Something you don't even know about, because here I am, like, just let me get home. So, anyway, the story of the rocker and my back porch. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Again, Debbie Barnett, RYT 500, Astro Yoga Woman. Find me also on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Blogger, whatever. All the itters, all the faces, all the spaces, whatever. I'm there. It was fun talking to you. Come back soon. Namaste. And how do I turn this off? Oy.